Have you been given authority in some area of your life? Whether you're in leadership of a company or your family or even a children's Sunday school group at church, God has given you that authority for a purpose. How can you best fulfill His purpose and not abuse that authority? Well, you can start by following Jesus' example of servant leadership. As we said earlier in the week, Jesus was given all authority in heaven and on earth, yet He never abused that authority. In fact, His awareness of that authority seemed to prompt Him all the more to serve others. In John 13, you can read the account of Jesus washing the feet of His disciples. You've probably heard the story many times, but I'd like to point out one thing with respect to our topic of authority. In John 13:3, it says that Jesus knew that the Father had given Him authority over everything and that He'd come from God and would return to God. It's basically saying that Jesus held an eternal perspective about His authority rather than an earthly one. How did this affect His earthly actions? Well, in the very next verse we read, "So He got up from the table, took off His robe, wrapped a towel around His waist, poured water into a basin. Then He began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel He had around Him." Having an eternal perspective of His authority prompted Him to serve His disciples, as He told them they should repeat His example of servant leadership in their lives. As a side note, Jesus washed the feet of all His disciples. That included Judas. Jesus knew that Judas would betray Him within just a matter of hours, and He had the authority to strike him dead right then if He had chosen to act on His authority. But He didn't. He chose to follow the Father's plan, which included serving Judas by washing his feet. It may seem counterintuitive, but we best reflect Jesus in our positions of authority when we serve, love, protect, care for, and want what is best for others rather than ourselves. Now, we're humans and we're imperfect, but we should strive to reflect Christ's example of service and submission to those under our authority. He voluntarily submitted to the will of His Father and loved us to the point of obedience on the cross. In addition, the Bible tells us that those in authority, especially those who are teaching others, will be held to a higher account. This isn't to discourage you from leading if that's what the Lord is telling you to do, but it should be a sober reminder of the responsibility that comes with that authority. We must regularly sacrifice our will and ask God to place His will on our hearts so that our actions, our words, and our motives are pleasing to Him. Authority should not be taken lightly.